You ever just have one of those days where you're browsing the internet, read an article, and you want to learn more? You want to learn more about why the person is saying what they said and maybe getting their thought process behind it? Well, I came across one article today that I wanted to share with you guys and kind of break down and discuss because I feel it's important, right? So as you guys can see, the video is going to be about Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot. Now, I probably said his name wrong. I apologize. So I'll just call him Yves from now on. Now, he said recently with GameSpot that the Xbox One X will help grow the industry. And I thought this was kind of interesting and worth talking about because we have heard from so many different analysts and so many different people that the Xbox One X is too expensive, that it's only going to appeal to the hardcore gamer, hardcore Xbox fan, that it's not going to draw in a crowd that doesn't really care about video games. And we've even heard from people like Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, that the Xbox One X is a premium product and that they still expect the Xbox One S, their cheaper model, to be the one that actually sells the most this holiday. So I was kind of interested to seeing what he says and what his thought process was by saying this. So we actually get to the article and the quote here. Now he says, "We did a deal with Microsoft and Assassin's Creed Origins, which has taken really good advantage of the power of the machine." Now everybody keep in mind that these CEOs of these companies, whether it's Activision, Ubisoft, EA, they all have a vested interest in all these video game systems selling well. Because if they sell well and they get, the system in the hands of more people, well then Ubisoft and EA have more people to sell their game to. And if they have more people to sell their game to, there's a possibility they sell more copies, which means more money for them. So keep that in mind. Now, Yves and Ubisoft have a bigger risk with Microsoft this time around because they are co-marketing Assassin's Creed Origins together. So he has a little bit more vested interest this time around than, say, someone with Activision, who, we all know Activision is co-marketing all their games with PlayStation. So he goes on to say that we like very much what they're doing because instead of having a Kinect or something, this time the industry went after more power for the machine, so more immersion, better AI, and overall graphics. Now, let's break that down here. Right? He mentions Kinect, which I haven't really seen anybody really talk about in a long time. Now, when you talk about growing the industry and you talk about systems bringing in an audience that maybe weren't gamers, right? You think of the Wii. At least I do, right? Because the Wii, yes, it sold to the Nintendo faithful, but it also brought in a crowd that just didn't play video games. And it was so dominant for years that Sony copied it with the Move controllers and Microsoft eventually copied it with Kinect to try to get a slice of that pie, to try to grow their own user base, right? Now, they put out the Kinect with the 360. It sold extremely well. It helped the 360 sell upwards of 90 million consoles, and the Kinect itself sold extremely well. So well, it blinded Microsoft to the fact that hardcore consumers would buy it moving forward and actually wanted it. And as we know, that wasn't necessarily the case, and Microsoft had to drop something that made the system unique and possibly down the road appeal to people who don't necessarily play video games like the Wii did, right? So there is that, right? And he goes on to say, though, that the reason they're interested in all this, the reason they think this is good is because the industry and Microsoft and Sony went after more power for the machine, so more immersion, better AI, and overall better games. And he says they like that. He likes that because it means the industry will grow because the better the experiences, the more people want to have it. And I understand that thought process. I kind of disagree a little bit, but also agree. Like, I get that. The better the game, you would hope that the more people would be interested in buying it. It's why they send out review copies before games come out, because when those reviews are really, really good, it gets the core base energized to buy it, right? Because they think they're getting value for their buck, or they're actually getting an incredibly good experience. Like he says there, they'll grow, the industry will grow because the experience will be better. And why will the experience will be better? Well, because the machine will be more powerful, so it has more immersion, better AI, and it'll make overall better games. So that is his line of thinking, is that they'll sell more. Now, he's right and he's also wrong, because the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, in my opinion and a lot of opinions of others, really only targets a specific segment of the gaming audience, and that is hardcore Xbox fans or hardcore PlayStation fans who are willing to spend $500, who are already hardcore gamers. I don't necessarily think that helps grow the industry in the way that the Wii did or the Kinect did, right? But then I was thinking about that, and maybe his definition of growing the industry, right, because that's what it's about, will help grow the industry, is a little bit different than maybe my interpretation of growing the industry, right? So when you think about it, his job as a CEO is to sell as many copies as possible to as many different people. Now, if he thinks that by making Assassin's Creed Origin, which he says is taking advantage of the system, taking advantage of the power, which is what he's saying, maybe they think that by having these hardcore gamers spend their money, buy a new system this holiday, that those people would also want a game to go with their system. So then you have the Assassin's Creed fans who love Assassin's Creed, who would buy the game regardless. And then you would have the people who maybe aren't into Assassin's Creed, but do want a new game for their new system with their 4K TV. So those people buy Assassin's Creed Origins. So by virtue of those two things, the Assassin's Creed fans buying it, and also maybe people that not into the series, maybe that's what he views as grow. That you have these hardcore people suddenly now spending more money to buy the system, and because they have a new system, they want to spend more of their cash, so they buy more of these games. So that way the industry grows, I guess, is maybe the other way that I'm thinking he's thinking it's going to grow, but it's not necessarily what I would think too, right? Like, if there's any system out there that has the potential to grow the industry, and when I mean grow the industry, I mean not to people already in the industry, I'm thinking the Nintendo Switch, if it obviously remains on the trajectory that it currently is going. It possibly could bring in those non-gamers or those super casuals that are waiting, right? We'll have to wait and see to find out, but I think that system has more potential to grow the industry than an Xbox One X or the Pro. And quite frankly, if you want to talk about what system in the Xbox lineup has more of a chance of growing the industry, then it's the S. Same thing with the Slim. Those are the ones that are priced pretty damn close to that really friendly consumer price point of $200. That's where a lot of the PS2 did a lot of its damage. Now the Wii launched at $250, but that is the price point that a lot of people want to check out the system at, and that's the one that essentially I think would bring in more people to the industry through that low price point. I think the X and the Pro only really appeal to the super hardcore fans of both systems. I don't necessarily see either of those two systems growing the industry. Unless, of course, you mean by grow the industry, you mean more people spending more money on those type of things, then I guess that is possible. But anyways, guys, I want to know what you think about all this stuff. What do you think about Yves' comments? Do you agree with them? Do you think the Xbox One X will help grow the industry? Or you kind of, in my line of thinking, that I don't necessarily believe that I think maybe, the Slim for both systems will sell it or grow it more, maybe potentially the Switch, or maybe I'm just, not understanding his full quote and just kind of guessing at it. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments. As always, I do love reading them. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I really do appreciate everybody stopping by the channel and checking it out. And I will see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.